polling indicates the vast majority of them want regime change. They don't want it to be done by Israel. Israel, which wants to install a puppet government on their behalf. Why are IDF soldiers shooting and killing children at humanitarian aid hubs? You genocidal prick.
Okay, guys, another Piers Morgan panel to jump into on the Middle East, the tensions, the U.S. strikes, all of that. I want to quickly say again, lights changing colors. If you think they're annoying, let me know in comments. If you think they're good, let me know in comments. And while you're doing that, leave us a like on the video. It lets us know you enjoy the content. It gives us a big boost in the algorithm. And let's hop right into the debate.
I can feel your frustration. I can feel how sad you are. I can feel how difficult it is for you to see Israel teaching the Iranian regime a lesson and Israel winning on the battlefield. I can understand that it's frustrating for you. I can understand that you're having a tough time dealing with reality.
You have to actually address the substance of my argument. Why are IDF soldiers shooting and killing children at humanitarian aid hubs? You genocidal prick.
And frankly,
can you answer
really
that
your
question?
talking points are tired.
The whole world
I'm not
sees
here
you
to
guys
answer
for what
your
you
questions,
are. Just
Mrs. Interrupter. I'm not here to answer your questions.
Your own damn
Last time I checked, this wasn't.
I actually think it's a really dangerous conflation to equate disdain for what Israel is doing or anti-Zionism with anti-Semitism, though I will concede plenty of people use the former as a shield for the latter. But like for me, for instance, like I'm just against genocide, right? And like what you're doing in saying that, though, and saying like, oh, me saying that is anti-Semitic, you're just creating a monolith for Jewish people, but not just that, but that they're a monolith that supports genocide, which puts them in a pretty precarious place globally when it just doesn't match the reality for most Jewish people who are some of the most kind-hearted people you could meet, right? Calling out the IDF for shooting children, indiscriminately bombing residential areas, and ungodly amounts of civilian deaths is what anyone should do with any bit of empathy. Anyone who purports to be a humanitarian, a humanist, anyone who is anti-genocide, anti-unnecessary death. It's not like, well, we have to stand with Israel, so let's turn a blind eye to what they're doing. No, apartheid and genocide are wrong, bar none.
Trump is quite willing to use force, but he uses it discriminately, he uses it quickly, and decisively. And Trump's own rhetoric very much supports this. I think that a lot of this anxiety is because of the bad lessons that came out of the Iraq war. But Iran is not Iraq, and Trump is not Bush. And the fictional weapons of mass destruction in Iraq are not the same as functioning nuclear facilities enriching uranium in Iran. So I think that it's important to look at this situation for what it is.
I mean, Iraq is the easy one to point to, but we know it from Yemen, from Syria, from Afghanistan. I mean, the list goes on. And even if, like, in some of those where the initial strikes might have been justified, the elongated process of war almost never is. And here, like with Iraq, that initial strike was in no way justified either. It's funny that he says, and I mean, Dinesh D'Souza is one of the biggest clowns on the internet, but it's funny that he says Trump isn't Bush when Trump is using the Bush playbook. He's lying about a grave threat from nuclear weapons to justify a strike that is illegal under Article 2 of the UN Charter. The problem is it's the age of social media, so what intelligence knows and has been reported on gets around a lot quicker than it did under Bush. Nobody's really buying into this unless they literally feel like they have to because, you know, cult things. And again, the American people writ large just don't have an appetite for it, especially when it's from the man who posed himself as like the ender of conflicts, the master negotiator, and the no wars pro-peace guy. Like, what happened to that?
On the left, you end up sounding like you're, shilling for a vile regime. The Iranian regime oppresses women. Well, hang on. Let me hang on. Is it they oppress women?
I know what you're going to say. I know. I hate the regime in Iran.
Right.
I hate the regime.
So why wouldn't you want it changing?
I hate the mullahs. There are Armenians living in Iran right now who hate the mullahs, okay? But regime change should not be spurred by the United States and Israel, which wants to install a puppet government on their behalf. And by the way, the Iranians know that. They know that. Polling indicates the vast majority of them want regime change. They don't want it to be done by Israel. You have to be clear about that because I think there's an intentional misframing or false framing of what's happening in Iran right now and what the population actually wants.
All great points, and before I quickly add some context to them, I am glad that this is happening for one reason, like not obviously any of the material circumstances on the ground, but I'm glad that MAGA can never pretend to be anti-war again in the goal of like endlessly supporting Trump no matter what. They're all just revealing themselves as massive hypocrites, and I think that this gives us more productive avenues going forward to weed these kinds of people out of government and actually reach a place where we are anti-war as a nation. All of a sudden, these people support regime change, and it's a good thing, and the West should do it, but Anna is right. And I hate that most people who genuflect, and this is with most foreign politics, but people who will genuflect on Iran and throw around all these talking points couldn't tell you 3 actual facts about Iran. I mean, they probably couldn't point to it on a map. They probably don't know the population is around 90 to 92 million. They probably couldn't tell you that it's the world's largest influx of refugees. They probably couldn't tell you like that it's the second largest oil producer in the world. They couldn't tell you any of the actual facts on the ground, but like terrorists, they know that. The Iranian people do not like the regime in power. Many of them don't support any of the suppressive policies. Actually, a lot of Iranians are more culturally Muslim than traditionally Muslim. And this is true for a lot of Muslims who still, you try to get the bad rap with them and suppress women and gays and all of this, but like, you should go meet some Muslim people. There's a lot of nuance to go into this, and with the religious split and the government structure, and we won't unpack all that today, but it's also, it's only powered on by the increasingly large influx of refugees pointing in. But like, what absolutely should not happen, and what we know that the people on the ground do not want, is a forced coup by the Israeli government or Western powers to install a puppet government. That'll only, their interests aren't going to be considered. It's going to be Western interests, and those two aren't exactly aligned. This is where normalization talks come into play here, but it also will only create a power vacuum and internal civil conflict, like what every other country we've ever done this to, that will then never truly help them deal with.